Reading vlog time. Yes, reading vlog time. Your ears are not deceiving you. Okay, so when I did my goals video for 2021 in December of 2020, I actually made a point saying one of my goals for 2021 is to no longer do reading vlogs because things get a little bit repetitive when I have my TBRs, my monthly wraps, I review everything I'm reading, and then I also have my reading vlogs. Like, it becomes a little bit too much. But the thing is, well, there's actually a couple of things. First of all, reading vlogs are actually the easiest kind of vlog for me to do, or the kind of easiest kind of video for me to do anyway, because I have one rule with my reading vlogs that I was doing this time last year, between the beginning of the year and 3/4 of the way through July 2020, which was no editing. Yeah, I couldn't believe it either, that I have videos that I don't edit. I literally just talk to the camera and then upload it on YouTube, and it is really, really easy. So it's kind of the least stressful of the lot. So definitely going to be redoing it for that reason as well. That's one of them. Another reason why I want to do my reading vlogs is because I have become more and more time conscious with my monthly wraps these days when I talk about all the books that I've read in that month. And it generally works out that I spend anywhere from 30 seconds to 1 minute talking about a book, which to me sometimes is nowhere near long enough to give you guys a really good idea of what the book is about and how I feel about the book and all that kind of stuff. So with a reading vlog, I can go for as long as I want, and no one's going to say anything because it's a reading vlog. So, yeah. Also, the third reason, if you want another one, is reading vlogs are extremely casual. So casual that I can have a sip of my beautiful coffee. And the fourth reason, no need for makeup. No, it's a reading vlog. It's casual, so I may look very whitened out compared to normal, but it's a reading vlog, so who cares? Alright, you guys, let's get right into it now that you know why I'm doing it, despite the fact that it was a goal of mine to no longer do these, and also why I'm not editing anything. The only type of editing at all that you're going to see is maybe little cut moments here and there, but the only way that's going to happen is if I pause the video. So I just want to be completely open and honest with you guys. I may have to pause the video here and there for certain different things. If I do, that's fine, but that's still to me not editing. It's just me pausing the video and then coming right back. So if that happens, then it happens, but otherwise no other editing aside from that. No pop-ups on your screen, no cutting or anything like that. In fact, I think the only fancy thing I'm going to do is probably put a thumbnail over this video. But anyway, you guys are here to find out how the first half of my first week of June 2021 is going, and I will not disappoint. There's a lot to discuss with you guys. Now, this time last year when I did these really long, there's no time limit requirement reading vlogs, I did 2 reading vlogs a week. Excuse me. 2 reading vlogs a week. The first one was my midweek reading vlog where I kind of cover everything up until about Wednesday or Thursday, and then my second reading vlog will be my end of week one where I cover the other days, which I believe were Friday, Saturday and Sunday. If you guys want me to do 2 reading vlogs a week, let me know in the comments below. If you're happy for me to just do 1, let me know that as well. But yeah, the main purpose of me doing this is so that I have more time to talk to you guys about what I'm reading rather than 30 seconds to a minute, which is nowhere near long enough, nor is it fair enough to the author. But anyway, before we get into what I've been reading for the first half of week 1 for June of 2021, I need to let you guys know that I received a book. A book got delivered, and I am so happy about this book, you guys. So, let me tell you guys about this whole story. In case you have not been following my channel, in December of 2020, I released a video called Most Anticipated Books That Are Being Released in 2021. And I had a whole list of books in that video. It's really kind of funny because when I edit normally, I would say, and here's a picture of it up there, but we're not going to put images up because there's no editing allowed in this video. So, but anyway, yeah, 2021 most anticipated books for the new year, and there were many on there that I really wanted to read, which really did surprise me, and I'm reading a lot of them this month, but there were 3 books that were in that video that I still did not have, and the first of those final 3 books that I don't have has arrived. Now, to the story about whenever I would go into any bookstore anywhere and ask about this book. You guys, every time I would go into a bookstore, at least these days, I would go in with a list because I wanted to see if these bookstores had the books that I've been eagerly anticipating. Some of them would, some of them wouldn't. Some of them seemed rather highly amused that I had a list on me. Some of them couldn't care less. Some of them seemed to have wonderful customer service skills. Some of them didn't. There were things that they did not have in common. But the things that every single customer service representative for any bookstore had in common with each other was when I was talking to them about this book. Every single bookstore that I went to, not only did they not have this book, but each time that anyone would look up this book, they would go, "Oh my gosh, that's such a beautiful cover." Unfortunately, we don't have it, which always had me really confused, thinking, if you think that's such a beautiful cover, get it in your store. So anyway, I eventually had to order it in from America, and it has arrived, and I'm so happy. Anyone who knows me really well would know that historical fiction is not my jam. It's really not. The only historical fiction that I really enjoyed was the Shadow of the Wind. I always have to make sure I'm not saying The Shadow of What Was Lost, because I didn't like that one. But The Shadow of the Wind by Carlos Ruiz Zafón, I loved that book. But this one has me incredibly excited, and now I have it in my hands. It is called The Lost Apothecary by Sarah Penna, and it is a gorgeous cover, isn't it? Oh my gosh, I love purple, and mainly it's like a purpley dark blue. The flowers are beautiful. The bottle, the apothecary bottle, is really beautiful too. So the basic premise of this book, in case you might be intrigued to read it, is that we are following a woman who opens up an apothecary on the sly to sell poisons to women of abusive husbands as a way to get back at them. They can slip them in their dinner or in their drink or something. And being historical fiction, I just think this is going to be really amazing. I have been an active feminist for a very long time, so I just really think I'm going to enjoy this book, and I do love the cover as well, but can't wait to read it. It's arrived. Yay! Just wanted to let you guys know. Alright, now we're going to move on to what I have read so far this week, and then we kind of wrap up these videos with me telling you what I'm going to read once the video is done, because I haven't read yet today. I'm going to read once I'm finished with today's video. But I have completed my first book for June of 2020, and it was one of my June of 2021, I apologize, and it was one of my 2021 most anticipated books of the new releases of the year, and that book is this book, The Gilded Ones by Namina Fauna. Okay, and that's my first example of pausing, and I did that because there was some noise going on in the background, so I just wanted to leave that out of this video. Back to The Gilded Ones by Namina Fauna. So again, this was one of my most eagerly anticipated new release for 2021. It is marketed as a YA fantasy. I can see why, but I'm going to very quickly say there's not a ton of fantastical elements in this book, so if you're going into this book thinking, oh my gosh, it's going to be a pretty massive fantasy, no, it is not. If anything, if I were to market this book, I would actually market this book as a YA dystopian with fantasy as a subgenre. But anyway, there's a lot for me to unpack with this book, which is part of the reason why, another reason why, I wanted to bring my reading vlogs back with you guys, because I can't get all this out within 30 seconds to a minute, so prepare for a long chat about this book. It is going to be spoiler-free because this is a reading vlog. I don't know if I'm going to review this book or not, but if I do, there'll definitely be spoiler sections in there. I'm going to start off by talking to you guys about the premise that I gave you guys, because this is the premise that I read from the book itself, not from literally the book itself, but when I went onto that website that was advertising books, new books for 2021 in 2020 when I went on this website, that was the premise that was on their website, and Yeah, there's some issues with it. So let's quickly go through what that premise was, which was we are following a woman who I can now tell you whose name is Decca. Decca is part of a tribe somewhere, and part of the uh, culture, I guess, and tradition of this tribe is that when girls turn 16, they have to go through a purity ritual. Basically, what happens in this purity ritual is that they are taken somewhere and they are somehow either sliced or pricked to see what color their blood runs. If it runs red, fantastic, everything is fine, and they are absolutely pure. If it runs a different color, well, then they're going to get executed. We find out in the premise of the book, so it's apparently not a spoiler, that our protagonist's blood runs a different color. It runs gold, and before she can be executed, she is approached by an elderly woman who tells her that she has brought about an all-female army, and that if she wants, our main character, Decca, can go and join this elderly woman over in this female army and continue to live her life. Sounds great, right? Yeah, not really. Okay, so let's just quickly unpack a couple of things, and I'm going to keep it as spoiler free as I absolutely can. So, yes, Decca. Well, first of all, Decca's not actually tested in the ritual. No. So, there is a villain at the beginning of this book, a villain breed of creatures, let's put it that way. And these breed of creatures, they interrupt the purity ceremony and start battling the villagers. And while they're battling the villagers, somehow our protagonist starts bleeding. And because she starts bleeding, that's when they notice her blood is not running red, it's running gold. So she doesn't actually get to take part officially in the purity ceremony. And so, obviously, the tribe is really not happy because her blood ran gold, she's impure, blah, blah, blah. Things happen. The woman approaches her. Now, the woman is not an elderly woman, quote unquote. If anything, she's quite a young woman. But anyway, we'll just let that go. And yes, she does invite Decca to come along to her all-female army, which is wonderful because it's a second chance at life. Or not really. I mean, it's kind of weird the way that this army is set up. It's kind of like they're saying that these impure women are going to do something really amazing once they get through their training, and yet at the same time they are still treated rather horribly. And I didn't mention this earlier, but I will now. Even from the beginning of this book, when we start following Decca in her tribe, women are treated rather inferiorly, which is really disheartening for me. As I was saying earlier when I was talking about The Lost Apothecary, I am a massive feminist, so to read any book where women are being put down purely for the sake of their gender, something they cannot help, is something that I just really don't enjoy reading, honestly. So I did not enjoy that aspect about her being in the tribe, and I didn't really enjoy it about her being as a part of this army. But I won't give away much more, and believe me, there is a heck of a lot more to the story, so there's a lot I'm not giving away here. But all in all, if I were to rate the plot of this book, I'd probably give it 3 stars. I thought the ending was really, really good, and apparently it turns out this is actually book 1 in a series. By the time I got to the end, I did strongly consider wanting to read book number 2, but it's not out yet, because obviously this is a new release that came out this year, so we have to wait till next year for book number 2 to come out. But as much as I thought the plot was okay, I'm going to say an average plot, 3 out of 5 stars, which is a little over average, but it was okay. I'm now going to talk to you guys about a topic that I don't generally talk about unless I am highlighting something to do with that topic. I am now going to lowlight a topic called the writing style. Okay, Namina Fauna. I'm so sorry if you're a fan of Namina Faunas. Please know that every reader is different. You may love this book, you may not love this book. You may love the writing style, you may not love the writing style. I did not like it, so just be prepared for me to say some things about it that I don't like and why I don't like them so I can explain it to you. Okay, I did not like the writing style of this book at all. I found so many issues with this book that I honestly don't know where to begin. But if I'm going to quickly kind of summarize it before going into a little more detail, I'll open up by saying I don't know if Namina Fauna actually hired an editor or not, but if she did, I don't know what the editor did. And if the editor did work, I'd love to see what the editor did, because I physically read this book and I had so many issues reading it because there were just issues with the writing in general. So what type of issues? Well, I've got a list here, so let's start with number one. Okay, first of all, I'm going to talk to you guys about the word sniff or sniffed. Yeah, in other words, you're smelling something. That smells nice, or that smells rather terrible. Sniff or sniffed is a commonly used term. It is used as an adjective a lot in this book to describe characters who are looking what I would call rather haughty in the way that they're talking. They're not happy about something, and so they say something in a haughty kind of way. And yet, instead of Namina Fauna saying, so-and-so says blah, 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 in a haughty way, she says, so-and-so says blah, 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 sniffed this person. Or this person would sniff and say, and it just doesn't make sense. The word sniff describes smelling. You're smelling something. And what we're talking about is not any sort of scent. So it doesn't make any sense to me. It's like, I'll give you an example. It's not in this book so that you guys can understand more what I'm trying to say to you. We would have a character say something like, what do you know? You don't understand anything. And character A would say. And then character B would turn around and say, it would be written as character B saying, excuse me? Sniffed character B. Sniffed? Sniffed? Like, seriously, of all the words, sniffed? And I seriously could have let this go if it appeared a handful of times or less. But you guys, the word sniff or sniffed probably at least appeared 100 times after quotes. Like, throughout the book 100 times is what I'm trying to say. And it just annoyed me, and I got to the point where I was kind of waiting for it to arrive. Every time I would see an open quotation mark, I was thinking, okay, where's the word sniff? Oh, there it is. Where's the word sniffed? Oh, there it is. It just kept coming up, and it just doesn't make sense to me. And I don't understand if Namina Fauna hired an editor, or the publishers themselves, why they wouldn't turn around and say to Miss Fauna, are you sure you want to use this word? I guess no one seemed to say anything to her, and it still got published anyway, so it doesn't quite make sense to me. But that's not the only thing. The next thing I'm going to talk to you guys about is scenes being completely cut out, and that was extremely frustrating. Look, for me, I am someone who is, most of the time, I'm very much a linear reader, and by what I mean by that is I love to read things in chronological order. The only times that I don't mind reading things out of order is, well, two instances. One, if it's a dual perspective that deals with then and now, or two, if we are going back in time in some way, shape, or form, whether it's once in different ways, or whether it is like a Groundhog Day type situation, that's fine. But generally speaking, I want to see things done in a chronological order, the order that they appear in the book, and this did not happen. To give you again an example that does not appear in the book so that you know what I mean, but so that you're not spoiled by this book, let's just say that character A is going to go over to their friend's place and come out of the closet and let their best friend know that they're gay. Just an example, right? Excuse me. So character A goes over to character B's house and we get the internal monologue. Look, I'm freaking out. I hope that my friend, doesn't want to stop being friends with me. I don't know if I can do this, but shakily I hold out my hand and I knock at the door. And then the next sentence says, I'm back at home in my bedroom wondering how I got through that conversation. And as a reader, you feel extremely betrayed because you've worked up to this moment that you want to see happen, and then you don't see it happen because it's completely skipped over. Namina Fauna does this many, many, many times, and again, I don't get it. It's possible if she had an editor or if it was the publishers that someone said to her she needed to cut back on her word count. And if that was the case, maybe that's why she had to let that stuff kind of go. But I don't think that's what happened. And I'm going to explain why after I explain my next point, because having read the book, I know what Namina Fauna did, and it didn't satisfy me. So I'll explain what that was in a moment. But yeah, you do need to know that. Scenes are completely skipped over in the book. Scenes that are very important, very integral. Okay, the next thing that I want to talk about is... Oh, yes. Okay, this is more of a grammatical thing. But, okay, when we have characters that are talking, the whole quotation marks deal, and no, I'm not talking about sniffed, I'm talking about their actual quote itself, and the way that it is written, I really don't appreciate it. If we have a character who is saying more than one sentence, the end of that first sentence, there is no end quotation marks. What happens instead, visualize if you're typing this in like Microsoft Word or somewhere. So you've got the first sentence that they've said, and then you put a full stop, or if you're American, a period at the end, but you don't put the end quotation marks. You then press enter, you then indent the line, and then you put a new talking mark, and you keep writing the second sentence, and then when you get to the end of the sentence, you put your full stop / period, and then you put your end talking mark. No. What is this? As someone who has been amateurly writing for at least 20 years of my life, I have never come across this being the standard way to write quotations and dialogue in books. It does not make sense to me. If you are going to start on a new line... with a new sentence of dialogue, the assumption most readers are going to have is that this new line of dialogue is going to be dialogue that is said by someone who wasn't talking in the previous line. Because if they're still talking, then you would keep it going. You wouldn't, again, if you're thinking about it, if you're typing it in Word, you wouldn't press enter and then indent the line. You would just keep writing like normal. And then you would have the talking marks at the end, and it would just read like normal lines because it's the same character. This, again, doesn't happen once. It happens many, many, many times. And this is a massive part of the reason why I don't think this is edited, because it doesn't make sense for a reader. Because when you're jumping to not only a new line, but an indented line, the very first thought you have as a reader is, this is a new person who's talking because we're in a new paragraph. So it doesn't make sense. And if there's an editor, why didn't the editor correct this? It doesn't make any sense to me at all. But okay. Now I'm going to talk about why, with the scenes that are completely skipped over, why I don't think this came back to the editors, or if there is an editor for this book, or editors, or the publisher talking to Namina Fauna about this, because this is a book where scenes are completely skipped over, and then at the end, we get the reveal of what happened in those scenes. Now, here's my issue. And you tell me if you disagree in the comments below. Please do sound off. Let's have a lively discussion about this. This is a YA fantasy, or if anything, if you want to go off my genre, it's a YA dystopian. It doesn't make sense to leave out scenes in a fantasy or a dystopian. It just doesn't. It serves no purpose for us to not know what is going on when it's happening. Which, just very quickly, I want to talk about the show don't tell. Tell is exposition. For those of you who don't know what I mean by this, I'm just going to very, very, very quickly explain this. So, when you are showing something in a book, if we are having a conversation between two characters, we are seeing the conversation take place. When we are telling about the conversation, then we are literally recounting something that has already occurred. We're not seeing it occur. We're just being retold of it afterwards, post the event taking place. This book does a lot of tell rather than show, which annoyed me as well. But back to my point, I just want to make that side point before I forgot it. If this were a YA mystery or a YA thriller or anything like that, then it would make sense to cut out integral scenes that we explain at the end, because it might give away who the killer is, or, the mystery. It might give too much information or too many clues that we work things out before we're meant to. So I understand that for a mystery or a thriller, but not for a fantasy. Which, again, that's what this book is marketed as. It's not marketed as a dystopian, that's my words. Not for a fantasy. So all of these scenes keep getting skipped over, and let me, again, giving you an example, it's not from the book, so it's spoiler free for you, explain what I mean by this. Let's just say that we have a character who is training really, really hard for an upcoming basketball match. This character is on the high school varsity basketball team. Let's just say we're plucking this out of the air. And so we see this character training all the time. They're not only training at school, they're training after school with their teacher, and then when they get home, they're training with their dad and or maybe even their mum. I mean, let's not be sexist here. They're training with their mum, okay? And they're just working so very hard, and they're really thinking also not only the physical side, but logically and mentally thinking about the team that they're going to take on and all these types of things, what they need to do, because this match is such an important match. And so then we get to the point in the book where it says, okay, so I'm walking out into the court right now and I can't wait to play the match. And the very next line says, so it turns out we lost the match. And as the reader, you're like, wait. You were leading me to this big moment and now you've just skipped it for no reason. Whereas in a thriller or a mystery, it makes sense because you don't want those integral scenes to be there because you don't want to work out who it is too early on, and it's great to have that reveal at the end of the book. Not for a fantasy, it doesn't make any sense. So, no. But that is exactly what Namina Fauna did, and that's why I don't think it was the publishers or editors, if there were any, saying this to her, because that's literally what she did. You can tell it's intentional by the end, because the scenes that are skipped over, and again, this is to me is not a spoiler because I'm not telling you what happened, the scenes that are skipped over are revealed at the end of the book. So suddenly, from out of nowhere, and to me it came across as a plot convenience, which was also very annoying because something integral happens at the end of the book that probably wouldn't have happened if it weren't for the deleted scenes that we didn't get to see. And then it's kind of brought up in that moment that these things happened that we didn't get to see, but thank goodness for these things that happened. No. It doesn't make any sense to me at all. So ultimately, I have to say, based mainly, not completely, but mainly on my full-on issues with the writing style, I'm not going to give this book a high rating. Now, the plot itself, as I said, it was okay. It wasn't anything amazing. It was okay. The ending was great, but the ending does not save this book for me. So I'm going to give this book 2 stars, which is really disappointing considering how much I was so eagerly anticipating reading this book, but I was so completely let down. Gilded Ones by Namina Fauna, 2 stars from me. Let me know what you thought of that book if you've read it before, because I'd love to chat about it with you guys. If you had issues with the writing style or the plot or anything like that, let me know. It's really funny. I'm just checking how long that this tape has been going for. It's been going for now 28 minutes, which is so hilarious. I'm not editing. I've basically got somewhere around like half an hour or less to get this done because I want to minimize this to half an hour. So we should quickly move on and talk about what I'm going to be doing with the rest of the week. So for the rest of this week, I was actually talking to a friend recently, and because my friend loves to know the books I'm reading in each week, and I was talking to this friend and saying how I was reading 3 books in week 1, because back in the day when I was doing these reading vlogs, I was reading 3 books a week. I am going to do that from week 2 onwards, but what I forgot about week 1 is that the first 2 books that I'm reading in the first week of June 2021 are so long that I don't think I can get through 3 books in the first week. So I'm reading 2 books this week. The second book, now that I've read The Gilded Ones, is this book, Dark Matter by Blake Crouch. Now, the very little I can tell you guys about the premise is that we are following a guy who, due to a set of circumstances, ultimately ends up in a world that is very different to his own. Or, he wakes up in a world that seems like it's his own world, but it's not his own world, it's a different one. I love, like, the whole alternate reality trope thing, so that makes me very, very excited. I've read a couple of pages in this book, and so far, it's okay. I'm hoping it gets more exciting, but I've literally just started reading the book, so, you know, I mean, It's a bland start. That's fine. We'll keep going, and I'll let you guys know how we go. If somehow I finish this book before the end of the week, the next book that I'm going to be picking up, finally, is One of Us is Lying by Karen M. McManus. If you were watching my TBR for the month of June, you would have seen that I've been trying to read this book for many months now, and actually it's gone on multiple TBRs of mine, and I've just never gotten to it. So I'm finally getting to it after I've read Dark Matter. So anyway, this is my midweek reading vlog, talking mainly about The Gilded Ones, and going on to read Dark Matter, and if I have time, One of Us is Lying, and also, of course, showing you guys The Lost Apothecary. So, how's your reading week going so far? Let me know in the comments below, but in the meantime, thank you so much for watching, letting you guys go peace, blessings, and so much love. I post videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and I'll see you again soon. Mwah! Let me know in the comments below if you would like to see midweek as well as end-of-week reading vlogs, or just one. You tell me, let me know. But until then, thank you guys, and I'll see you again soon. Happy reading!